screen and you can hear me. Just hit yes if you can, please. Okay, ممتاز, شكرا. So in this master session, this is the 7th master session. In this master session, we will cover Unit 10, and I believe we could be also cover a part of Unit 11. As a Unit 10 doesn't has too much question to cover, at least it's not a big content, as a big portion of it is already eliminated from your material. We will have, as I mentioned before, tomorrow we'll have an extra master session from 8 to 10 as well, and we will cover Unit 11. So in Unit 10, we thought about how we're going to analyze and how we're going to collect the requirements from the customer, جمعنا المتطلبات, we analyze it, and then we making the design, we draw some diagrams, and so on. Let's assume at the end now you have a final product. We will talk about different concepts that is dealing with the product. You think about it as a final stage. So in this unit, we're thinking about two main concepts, which is component and the services. So the most important part to distinguish is what's the difference between a component and what's the services, how you distinguish them, how you define them, how you compare them, and how you giving example of each of them. Okay, so let's just start with the component. I tried to use some real life examples to make it clear. So if I'm thinking about a component as a definition, where's my laser? So as a definition, we're thinking about a component as a unit of functionality that designed to serve as a part of a system or applications. I have a unit. The unit doesn't always mean a specific part of code, or does it mean, as an example that you have it in your material, as we can think about an object as a component and an object oriented. لما نجي نفكر في الobject oriented ممكن نفكر في الobject as a component. It's any unit في السوفتوير, any combinations of different parts that represent a unit تقوم بدور معين. It's designed as a part of the system of application. هي جزء من النظام تبعنا. وهذا, this is actually one of the distinguish between the component and the services. لما تجوا you mix up between a component and a service, ask yourself, there is, I'm going to talk about it later, but one of the questions you can ask yourself, it is a part of my system? Is it a part of my application? Is it a part of my website, or I'm gonna choose it from someone else, a third party from a provider? If it's a part from your system, this is more likely and it's a component. If you are using it from a third party, this is a services. So for example, in these pictures, we're representing a website that it has a part that's using emailing as a part, but you need they putting Gmail, which is making confusing. It can be any logo, so they talking about a logo. Sorry, here it's even me. I get confused. I thought about email service. No, it says just a logo component. It is supposed to be any logo. فأي logo راح يكون as a logo هي فقط الشعار. It's a component. So الشعار, logo is a component. When you're having a sign-in and a log-in part, they are a component. لكن you can think also about some of making it as a service. يعني في عندنا بعض الconcepts, if you're giving it just a word, it wouldn't make it clear if it's a component or a service. You need to give it as a details. مثلا, here is a sign-in is a component. لكن when I say authentication of a user, which is including taking the username and password and recording it, sometimes I have it in my organization to complete all the process, Sometimes I rely on a third parties, so it's become a service. So authentications, it can be a services when I make it a detail. So someone may ask now, so if I get something like this in the exam, you need, if it's not that clear, clarify your answer. So usually, if it's just a part, such as just a sign-in, it's a component. Unless they're giving you details about the authentication and giving it the explanations, giving you a hint that is gonna not to done in your organization. If you're having just a picture, if you have animation, if you have a videos, if you have a links, all of those are a component, okay? If you have buttons, as what he said here, those are a components. Another examples that we're gonna to see in any web pages as well, when you have an alert part, which is rely on which architectures, for those who's, I don't know if anyone started studying. Now we cannot separate the concepts we are learning from one unit to another. كلها شغالة مع بعضها. So لما أقول أنا عندي component about the alert part, exactly, it's actually rely on an architectures. ممتاز منار و sorry, Sharifa, and I have one third here. I don't know who's, I have to click. And Sadia. Okay. So alert bar rely on notification architectures. I have another example, such as hero planners, course lists, etc. Bars that you can have it in your website. All of those are a component. طب الآن نرجع إلى السلايد تبعنا. Those example I put it at the beginning just to simplify the concept for you. The components usually how they are. طيب الآن I have a component. Let's get back to any of those. Let's assume I have a component about a sign-in. It cannot work by itself. It's not isolation. It doesn't work لوحدها كذا. It has to connect with another component as well. When they're connecting with another component, that means they're going to provide something and they will require something. يعني مثلا الexample اللي انتوا أخذتوه بالslide, that when you're having account management with security. Let's assume now about when we're having authentications, I would like to get a user registration. They're going to put their name, their information, whatever, their password. So I have a registrations as a component. And then I have the security, which is to provide an access control. Do you know what's the access control mean? The access control mean who's allowed to access what? مين المسموح له إنه هو يعمل access إلى إيش؟ فمثلا أنا if I have a system, a website, such as this, I'm gonna choose. Let's assume I have an authentication that it's for a login, and I'm gonna to have another component for a security, which is providing access control. So the interfaces in these cases, هي access control. Who's allowed to access what? So when you're creating an account, you are requiring from security components the rules of accessing. So if you are an administrator, you can access everything. If you are مثلا a content manager اللي يدير المحتوى فقط, so you can only access the content. You don't have access to the customer record and so on. So مثلا أنا لما يكون عندي قاعدة بيانات, I'm going to say it 2 times in Arabic and English. I know some just as email preferring to hear it in both language, so I'll try to do my best. So let's assume I have a database. I have managers who can access everything. I have a content manager who can only access the content. Now, المانجر يقدر يشوف كل البيانات اللي موجودة بالصفحة الخاصة بالصفحة بما فيها معلومات المستخدمين وبياناتهم إلى آخره. لكن الكونتنت مانجرز اللي فقط يديروا المحتوى, أنا أبغاهم بس يديروا المحتوى, معلومات المحتوى. So in this case, I have an account and I have the security. Security will provide me with the role of access. For this reason, I need what is called interfaces. So I have any component that is gonna to provide something, and we represent it as a circle. You providing it. And when you're requiring something, you can thinking about it as an open mouth. كأنه أحد فاتح فمه ويطلب شغلة. So this is what you are requiring. So an application built in a component likely to be structured in using cold return architecture. So now again, نفس الconcept that I just said. احنا ما نتكلم كل يونت لوحدها. المعلومات related to each other. طب هذا الفكرة when you are have a component and you have another component, the account components requiring لأنها فاتحة فمها from security, and security will provide it. What's the architecture of this one? It's a cold return. أنا راح أطلب من security and it's going to return the information, role of access to me. The component may have several different interfaces. Does it mean هنا إن as a security, I can provide access control, I can provide encryption, I can provide so many other things. So you don't only providing one interfaces. Also, you can also require more than one thing. يعني ممكن يكون عندنا أكثر من required interfaces. So those are two characteristics of the component. طيب. So this is how we provide interfaces, define the service that provided by component to other components اللي أنا أزودهم فيها. In another way, require that I need from the others. أنا جالس أطلبها من the other components. And you already having this diagram from your materials. I just highlighted using a different color to emphasize the elements meaning. So if you are using, there is two ways to represent a component. The first way is using a graphical and the other one is textual. In the graphical interfaces, you're representing using this icon, and then for the provider interfaces, a circle required as a half of circle, and then for textual, we're gonna to use true to type. So any parts, and you already using this many times in different diagrams and in different concepts. This is called stereotype. So how many stereotype I can explain in my component? 3. واحد منهم اللي هي حق الكومبوننت نفسها, which is gonna to component stereotype. I have 2 for the interfaces, provided for the I provided and required for the interfaces required. I have a question here. Can an interface require something from an interface and provide something to another interface at the same time? They can, but they're gonna choose different interaction point. So you already having this. Let me. Okay, I get your question. So if I have this is a component, and this just confirm if this is what you mean. So if I have this as a component, I'm asking from this component about something. I'm requiring. And at the same time, I'm providing something to this other component. Is this what you mean? Yes, that's mean yes, you can do this. So one component can provide something and then requiring another things from the same component. Yes, it can be. طيب, in a component-based software architectures, إيش يعني component-based? That means now I'm thinking about only the component in an architecture's fundamentals. Illustrate how will accounts components may interacting with the security component to ensure. طيب, let me fully read the question. I'm going to prefer to using highlight. So I have accounts component and I have a security component. To ensure proper management and protect of user data. Provide a diagram that including the interfaces for account management, encryption, account management, and access control. طيب, usually in this unit, like we don't have a component diagrams. وقفنا عند packaging diagrams وما رجعنا كملنا. Okay, so what we think about it, so actually this can be, so we have encryption, access control, which is both included in management. So we don't ask you to draw a full diagrams, but we can ask you about drawing a part of the diagrams as it's explained in the courses already. But how are we going to do this one? I'm going to highlight it. I have how many components? 1 or 2. So I'm going to draw those components. I'm going to say I have an account component, and I'm going to have a security component. You have a choice to represent it as graphical or as a textual. If you are using it as graphicals, you will put this small icon to represent this is a component. Like, now you think about it. To ensure proper management and protections of user data, provide diagrams that including interfaces for account management. إيش المطلوب مني إلى الأكاونت مانجمنت؟ يعني إلى هذه الجهة المطلوب إني أزودها بإيش هي الانترفيسز اللي راح تكون موجودة. Of encryption and access control. Now I'm asking myself, so this is the first interface. It is going to be provided, or my focus is on the account. It is going to be provided or required from الانترفيس encryption. راح يكون required. أنا أطلب. I'm asking about encryption. So it's going to be interfaces of encryptions. I'm requiring it. And other things also, I'm requiring the access control. أنا جالس أطلب. I'm asking for interfaces for access control. So who's going to provide me in these cases? They already told you that you have a component of security, so this is going to provide you a component. So if you're having it as this, you will get the full explanation. What you need to do if you get a question like this, usually if it's coming as a short questions, you need to draw the diagrams as much as you can and explain it. If it's in a shorter questions. So here you're going to say that we're going to have 2 components, accounts and security. The accounts component need the encryption and the access, which is provided by a security component. And that's it. So we can also have one thing that is for this part is from the question. When they said component to ensure proper management to protecting the data user, providing diagram that including interfaces for. Before I still have this account management. So account management, so this is 1, 2, 3 interfaces. So when they said interfaces for, أي شغلة راح تكون بعدها it's an interfaces. So I have 3 interfaces. I defined required. They said account management. طيب as an account component هل أنا راح أطلب account management أو أنا راح أزود account management? I'm going to provide. أنا راح أزود لو أي component ثاني طالب account management I can provide it. So this is how we going to answer such questions. You are already actually having this in your slide. I just rewrite the question to use the same diagrams اللي موجودة عندكم بالسلايد. Okay. طيب. Let me just see the chat. Okay. No questions there. طيب. Any question so far? Okay. Now I will move to the part that when you would like to apply a design by contract, but in this time we're gonna to apply it for a component. We already did the same question. عملنا نفس طريقة هذه الأسئلة في before في requirements when we having a different company providing me with a different services and so on. كيف أنا راح أقبل الكومباني, which company I'm going to accept it, which one is going to fit with my need or not. I'm not going to get back to it, but you already seeing a similar questions. How you going to define if you can replace a component X with a component Y, when it's accepted and when it's not accepted based on design of contract. يعني how the questions can be based on a design by contract explained if you can replace X with a Y. For example, the point here, we always emphasize that we're going to rely on a design of contract to replacing two components. I'm going to give you a very small hint to answer any question about this, even without going into details. علشان تجاوب على السؤال هذا, even if you get confused about weaker and stronger, think about it in a real life. And I already giving a similar example to my students, so I'll try to use another one instead of the hardest. Let's think about if you would like to replace your RAM in your laptop. You go, or not replacing RAM, okay. You buy a laptop from a company, and they said, if there is an issue with your laptop, we're going to replace your laptop. If it's an issue cannot be fixed. So you went to this company, you asked them to replace it because there is an issue. They said, this design is not available in our store anymore. مش موجود هذا النوعية من الجهاز عندنا. احنا راح نعطيك another laptop. If they provide you with another laptop, which is having a higher probabilities, عنده خصائص أعلى, you would accept it. So replacement is weaker البريكونديشن اللي أنت جالس تتوقعها. So what you requiring مثلا X amount of RAM, X amount of hard disk, and they give you more, you will accept this replacement. لكن لو قالوا لك والله we're going to give you a laptop that it has a lower RAM, lower hard disk, lower whatever, you wouldn't accept it. هذا أبسط شغلة ممكن you put it in your mind to answer such questions. So when you are replacing any component, now we're going to warp it with the concept of design of contract. الآن راح نتكلم عنها بالطريقة الفلسفية إلى design by contract. So when we're talking about it in a design of contract, they said we having a precondition and post condition. لكن بالنسبة للcomponent, we define it differently. We gonna to say assumption, what you assume, and what you are guaranteed. So what you assume, it has to be same or weaker. يعني الواي لما أجي أبدلها أما لازم تكون نفسها أو أضعف. So this is going to be okay. الguarantee اللي it's supposed to be guarantee later اللي هي post condition, it has to be same or stronger, that is going to be accepted. So the point is لما نقول إن الassumption same or weaker, that means not demanding more. أنا مو جالس أطلب أكثر. When I say a guarantee إن هي same or stronger, that means I'm not delivering a less. يعني أنا ما راح أعطيك أقل. So this is what does it mean. So they already providing you an example here. I'm not going to go over it لأن already موجودة عندكم بالslide to save your time. Example I'm going to provide it, which is similar to it. Let's consider I having a search bar component. So a search bar that I have it in my website, it is going to be a component. Now I would like to replace, I have a developer who's working in my company who develop a search bar for customer X. يعني جاي لنا زبون وأنا عندي موظف وعمل له search bar. هذا الموظف استقال وما كمل العملية. But I already give customer guarantee that is the search bar if a search query contains at least 3 characters. يعني لما يجي يعمل search لو حط only 1 character it wouldn't work. If it put 2 characters it wouldn't work. If it's put a 3 character that is mean it's gonna to work. This is the precondition. طب البوست condition that guarantee at least 1 search result if its match exists in a database. كم نتيجة راح يطلع له لو إن هي متطابقة؟ راح يعني لو لقى برودكت يعني هو جالس مثلا يبحث على لابتوب سامسونج، لو فيه لابتوب متطابق at least راح يطلع له 1. طب هذا الموظف استقال وإجا another one and is going to complete this process and said I'm not going to provide you with this search bar component, I'm going to provide you with the component دي هو جالس يطور لكن هذا مختلف. This new component إيش هي الاسsumption حقها؟ performance search for any length of query. بدل ما كان ال previous one only 3 character I said now for any length. يعني even the customer if it's write only 1 character such as S for مثلا Samsung, it is going to show a result. Also it's a guarantee at least 1 search of results. يعني نفس اللي كنت طالبته هنا it's guarantee to match it and provide بالإضافة إلى كذا مش فقط راح يطلع لي النتيجة, it's to provide an enhanced filtering option to refine a search result. يعني راح يعطيها مقسمة. It's going to do a filtering. يعني مثلا I put a Samsung, it is show me all the Samsung PCs, عفوا laptops, smartphones, everything. And then have a filter to just show me the smartphones. So I have providing an extra features. طيب, is this accepted? Now, before going with any detail, أساساً logically, this is a very clear answer you're supposed to provide it. Is this accepted for the customer? Yes, أكيد بيكون سعيد. Because it is gonna do. Why? And now the point. Okay, you get an answer إن هي yes, بس كيف راح تكتبوها طيب بالإجابة بالاختبار؟ ليش هي accepted? This is the main point. So we having again, and sorry for those attending one, to repeating myself. When you're reading the questions, try to read it carefully. So how many parts do I have? According to the design by contract, can you replace with the component A with the component B? هذا the first part of the questions, and then you having why. So when you get a question, please read it carefully to answer all the parts of the questions. طيب, anyone can distinguish why? ليش طيب أنا سعيد بالresult, I can accept it. Can I replace component B with the A? Can you clarify your answer? Based on what we explained. You can, we can, assumption, and you can stronger the guarantee. This is the general answer. لما you can, we can, assumption or strength guarantee, that's it. هذا الإجابة السهلة العامة. وبعد كذا تقدروا تعملوا لها customize based on the questions. So كيف راح نعمل لها customize؟ الإجابة العامة إنه we can الاسsumption strength الجارنتي. طيب we can الاسsumption, مين الاسsumption عندي؟ الاسsumption this that I said at least 3. So الاسsumption we can. So this is اللي موجودة بالبلاك, هذه هي الإجابة العامة. لو أجبتوها بإجابة عامة هذا راح تكون it's not answering the question, it's answering general question. كيف راح أمثلها الآن based on my questions? Since the component دي بالنسبة إلى الويكن accept search query of any length بأي طول, هذا weaken الرول اللي كانت فقط 3. Strength البوست condition you said you're going to show at least 1, وهنا said at least 1, وأضاف كمان عليها adding features which is accepted for me. Okay? طيب briefly identify two advantage and two disadvantage of the approach of CBD, component based development. Can any of one said advantage if you're just using a keyword؟ مثل ما اتفقت معكم إن if you would not like to start from big, start with a small. Advantage ميزات. إيش الميزة؟ إنه يكون عندي component and I just use it. Again المثال حقي بالنسبة للcomponent. Let's assume إن أنا كشركة أصنع لابتوبات. So I already instead of factorized around factorized الديسك factorized الكيبورد factorized السكرين already موجودين عندي على الشلف وأنا أخذهم وأرتبهم. So هذول هم الكومبوننت. إيش الادفانتج؟ ممتاز شيل fast. هذا الادفانتج. You get المارك for the first part. Again how many parts? Briefly identify two advantage. لازم نتعلم نقرأ السؤال كامل. Two advantage. Two disadvantage. هذا the second part. Is there anything else? That's it. طيب إيش هي disadvantage؟ لما يكون عندنا الأجزاء اللي حق الكمبيوتر already on shelf. الرام والهارد ديسك والسي بي يو والكيبورد والماوس. I'm gonna choose them. صحيح it's gonna to be fast, it's gonna to be cheap, but it's come with a price. Exactly. Sometimes they are incompatible. ما يمشوا مع بعض. هي مش بسهولة اللي جالسين حنا نوضحها. So هذه أول ضعف عنده. طيب الريستريكشن ممتاز. هنا أنا جالس أغيره. أنا لما أقول أنا I'm gonna choose the keyboard that I already have it on the shelf. The keyboard that I have it on the shelf only have English characters. I'm designing laptop for Arab country. So now I cannot customize it to have a keyboard إنه يصير فيها الأحرف العربي. So هنا راح تكون restriction. You get it. You see how it is? So when you think about the answer في الاختبار, try to think about it first in generals without going into details. You put the first word and then complete it. So it's going to be cheaper because you don't need to start from scratch. Quicker, as you said, it's faster. الكلمتين راح يكونوا صحيحتين. Standard component will be said that's free of bugs. إيش يعني free of bugs؟ أنا already عملت تيست إلى كل الأجزاء اللي موجودة عندي. البي سي عفواً الكيبورد والماوس والرام. I already test them. The same things with the software. طبعاً I'm giving you example of the hardware. Replaceable, and I can replace keyboard A with a keyboard B as long as it's follow a design by contract اللي تكلمنا عنهم. A disadvantage, restrictions, as we said, it may need another part. Sometimes is a need an adapter على أساس إنه هو إذا كانوا incompatible ما يقدروا يتفاهموا مع بعض. I need an adapter. المثال حقها اللي ضربناه الفيشة اللي we put it on البلوجز لما نحطها بالجدار. لو أنتم مسافرين and الفتحات اللي حق بالجدار doesn't work with your cables. You need an adapter. The same things. If you have a legacy system, if you have any system that doesn't work with another one, you need an adapter. مثل المترجم بالنص. And sometimes it doesn't sound as it's just plugged and as it's need more. طيب, that was about the components. Now we will move to the second part, which is the services. I already give you for my sections, I already give you an example for services as Amazon Web Services. So this is one of the famous websites providing the services. But before to go with this one, let's see a definition and reflect it with my example. So services unit of functionality نفس اللي كانت بالcomponent اثنينهم unit of functionality. لكن إيش؟ That is designed to be deployed independently. So you see how it's different? You're going to deploy it independently and reuse in a multiple system. Multiple system يعني في أكثر من نظام. It's not about my system. It's already في Amazon Web Services. They you provide it. I can use it. Company A can use it. Company B can use it. And they can reuse it in a different way. هل أنا السيستم تبعي my organization depending on it يعتمد عليها؟ لا, it's working independently. So مثلا في Amazon Web Services, they providing different services, such as they providing analytics, they providing database, they providing machine learning, they providing a very a good number of services. You select between them. Those, what we call those services that here, a candidate services. A candidate services يعني الخدمات المحتملة. That I'm gonna to select راح أختار service that it's fit my need. يعني أنا لما أشوف كل هذه الخدمات it doesn't need I need all of them. أنا لسه شركة ناشئة و I don't need to use all of them. So what I need is only database and I need some analytics. That's it. So I'm gonna to select between those from those candidate services. Okay. So explain why service is said to have two probabilities. الآن من الأشياء المذكورة عندكم بالسلايد إن السيرفيسز عندها خاصيتين. It has two probabilities, which is stateless and location transparency. إيش يعني stateless and إيش يعني local transparency? I'm going to give an example of the translator حق اللانجوج. مترجم مثلا الجوجل. لما ندخل على مترجم الجوجل translator is a service. هو يقدم لنا خدمة ترجمة. And also I can use this service in my website. أنا ممكن أقدم نفس الخدمة في موقعي. الآن one of the things الشيء بالشيء يذكر even if it's not here now. For your final project, you will need to design a full project. Some students feel like it's a big project. From where should I start? And I am going to add one of the features as translating the language. واحدة من الخصائص مثلا I'm designing I don't know مثلا a game application or whatever. واحدة من الفيتشر اللي في موقعي أو في الابلكيشن تبعي هي الترجمة translating. Or one of the feature is using AI. Or one of the features doing currency translating إن هي converting تحول العملة. لما يجوا في طلاب if they don't think إذا كانوا مو فاهمين فكرة services and reusing at the beginning لما يحطوا هذا الفيتشر في مشروعهم التخرج they think they will design everything from scratch and they will write a code for translating, write a code for AI, write a code for converting the currency, which is not right. Actually, لما تيجوا تعملوا البروجكت, you will just have a small piece of code that is going to bring this service to your website. راح تجيبي هذه الخدمة إلى موقع. Okay? So that's it. It's not about this question, but just to help you for your final project. طيب خلينا نرجع إلى هذا الموضوع. الآن let's assume based on the example اللي أنا أخذته جبته إلى مشروع التخرج your final project and you have the features خاصية to translating a sentence. Now every time the customer enter to your website translating the system and they go to another link they back is what their query previously it's going to affect the next one. يعني لما تدخلوا على Google translator you translating whatever word or a sentence and you get back to it يقول لك والله أنت previously you asked for this word translating or this sentence and which is going to affect the next one. That's not the case. This what does it mean statelessness. That means إن هم الستاتس الحالة ليست مرتبطة بالحالة السابقة. So whatever you're requiring previously, it's not going to affect the next one. So this is what the first one means. Location transparency, it's clear. You don't know where is Google doing this service. You don't know if this service is providing in the US, UK, wherever it is, and how they implementing it. كيف جالسين يصمموها إلى آخره. So you don't know about the details of about the implementation, about the physical location, and so on and so forth. طيب, SOA, what is this reflected for? إيش تمثل ال SOA؟ هي اختصار إلى إيش؟
Service Oriented Architecture.
ممتاز، شكرا. Service Oriented Architectures. Collaboration typically involve يتضمن كم شغلة؟ السيركل. طيب if this questions can come at this, I'm going to complete reading this question. I'm going to define it in another way. So service object-oriented collaboration typically involved find, bind, invoke, cycle. Explain. وضحوها. Or the question can asking you, what are the cycle of a service object-oriented typically involved? فممكن إنهم يعطوكم a list of السايكل اللي هي find, bind, invoke, or they asking you about it. مطلوب إنكم تكتبوهم. طيب, they already providing us السايكل. They asking us to explain. How are we going to explain it? أنا راح أرجع على مثالي, which is you can also use it في الexam. You're going to say, I'm going to have a provider who have a list of services. It is going to have a description. لو تدخلوا على كل واحدة فيهم, مثلا عن الanalytics, it is going to have a description. So at the beginning, so I'm just going to use the first character of each of those. So I have a find, bind, and invoke. So when you're going to the website, first you're going to find what is the best service for you from the candidate services. Whenever you find it, you go selected and complete the process of adding it to your account. So this is going to be the bind. You're going to connect with whom? With the provider, in my case Amazon Web Services. And then إيش راح يعمل الأمازون Web Services في النهاية? It is going to invoke it to your system. So you are a customer. The first step, you're going to go find في الريجستري اللي هو in my case الآن الويب سايت اللي هي للأمازون Web Services. Amazon Web Services. You go and search for الcandidates موجود الليست حقه. طيب إيش الخطوة اللي بعدها؟ I'm gonna to find إيش الأشياء اللي أبغاها. طيب إيش الخطوة اللي قبلهم in fact؟ قبل ما أنا أروح أساساً أبحث، قبل ما أبحث البروفايدر actually do something before I am start searching. They publish description and services. يعني أنا دخلت الموقع فأنا عملت الخطوات اللي I just explained, which is find and bind will invoked. So bind will invoke coming together as one step. لكن before this هي ما اجت من from nowhere. I have a provider اللي هو الأمازون Web Services. اشتغلوا وجلسوا وكتبوا توصيف إلى each services, what are the services, and then they publish it في registry. So هذا الجزء مش خاص فيني أنا. I didn't know about it. What I care about it is this part. I go, I select and then find. So this is how we can explain it. طيب الآن we get to go to a kind of services. أنواع الخدمات اللي ممكن أن هي تقدم. We have a three type of services: utility, business, coordinations. طيب now if you're going to I'm trying to use an example that fits for male and female. Okay, you get to go to clean your car, which is all of us properly we may need it one day. نبغى نغسل السيارة تبعنا. في المثال تبعي, when you go to clean your car, there are a main service that's related, which is we call it business service. هي اللي راح تكون specification الشيء الأساسي. And there are some utility services and some coordination. طيب now if you're thinking about car watching, what can be utility services? Utility يعني شغلة جانبية إضافية. It can be just plugged and be used. Can you think about it? طيب بالutility services it can be used with more than one service. يعني لما تكون عندي أكثر من خدمة ممكن إن هي تستخدمها. Okay. So for example covering السيت لما يجوا يغطوا الأسيات بشغلة بالبلاستيك اللي فيها هذه ممكن إن هي تكون utility services خدمة إضافية. So البزنس في المثال حقي هي غسيل السيارة. You clean your car. They cover your seat. طيب هل covering your seat it can be used with another service؟ مثلا لو كانت السيارة عطلانة وصلحوها هل ممكن أن أنا أضيف خدمة أن هم they cover a seat with it? Yes. So utility service ممكن تشتغل with a different business services يعني أكثر من خدمة. طيب إيش coordination services in this case? coordination services any service that it can make those working together or even if you're having more than one service جالسين يشتغلوا you got to make them working in an appropriate way. فمثلا if you are using car washing and you are fixing your car so you're using more than one service you need a coordination services such as the flow. You're gonna to start first fixing the car and then you're gonna to watch it, who's gonna to take care of it, how it's gonna to work and so on. So I have an extra service to make them working together. نرجع إلى مثالنا إلى software engineering. Business services if I have a company that or e-commerce website who's selling clothes جالسين يبيعوا ملابس. طيب utility services مثال عليها إن هي تحويل العملات currency converting راح أحول العملة. طيب if I have another website I can still use the same utility لأن هي أساساً general functionality فهي count as a utility. coordination anything is going to make them working together. We will see an example of them as we go. راح ناخذ بعض الأمثلة لnew example and example from slide. So what I need you now الpoints هنا you need to be able to distinguish. If we give you an example of service you need to be able to distinguish is under which type and you be able to give an example of each of those services based on a specific scenario. طيب what is the type of the services of those explanation here. authentication services عملية التحقق من بيانات المستخدم. It is going to be utility. I just need the first letter U B utility. Or C. إيش راح تكون؟
utility.
Utility. Okay. I'm not sure if I'm yes. Okay. I just need to make sure إن هم ما يطلعوا كلهم مع بعض. Okay. So yes, utility. ليش utility? That means I'm so proud of you. أنا مرة سعيدة أنكم all of you answered correctly. معناها أن وصلت الفكرة إيش يعني utility. ليش هي utility؟ لأن أنا ممكن في الويب سايت تبعي اللي يبيع عبايات استخدم الويب سايت that is selling electricity I can use it and so on and so forth. So it's going to be utility. الكريدت scoring services for the finance institute يعني للشركة اللي جالسة تشتغل في المالية الكريدت scoring services. الكريدت اللي هي أنواع البطاقات الكريدت it's a different type of it. Okay, business anyone else? One more and I will tell you the answer. في حد بعد عنده جواب؟ One more. Okay. So yes, it's a business because it's a core of what this company need and it's very specific for this need. طيب payment gateway services. Payment. Utility. Okay. Someone else? شكرا منار. مين كمان؟ Okay, coordination, سعدية. Interesting. Okay, so the payment, in fact, some company having the payment their own way, so راح تكون جزء منها, لكن usually the payment is done by third parties and it's a fully completed process to doing something. It's not a complementary or it's going to connect two parts, Sadia. So in this way, it's going to be utility. It's not going to show me the flow, يعني عملية the payment process. It's not the services that it's going to make sure that you select the right product, you put the right product on the basket, you get to count exactly how many products you have in a basket and how much you have it. This is not the responsibility of the payment. The payment services, you just tell the payment services as a website, you just get to tell that's a gateway how much they're supposed to get from the customer. That's it. The payment gateway, it has nothing about the process of buying the product. So that's why it's going to be utility. The last one, it's already saying it in the sentence. The workflow cohesion services. We have a services that's dealing with cohesions. The cohesions mean you have different services. They working in a good way, an appropriate way. نسميها cohesions. طب الآن to distinguish between them. عرفنا إيش يعني component وعرفنا إيش يعني services. كيف راح نفرق بينهم? How we going to compare them? How they are different than each other. هذه هي ال definition that I use it for the previous, so I'm not going to repeat myself هنا. So the component assume that you have a reusable self-contained software component with providing required interfaces. راح يكون عندنا interfaces على أساس إنه we have different components working together. However, for services, we have collection of services that fulfill a business function and can be accessed over a network. This is actually the keyword that is going to tell you is it's a service. لما يكون in my organization, I'm going to use my communication. I'm using the way that I'm accessing it. لكن لما تكون services, I'm using a provider, يعني موجودة خارج عن الorganization. I need to access it over a network. عن طريق شبكة راح أعمل لها access وأختار منها. So that's how it's different. Is it better to implement the currency converter as a component or as a services? I already explaining this. So usually it's better to have it as a service. But we didn't complete reading the question. We answer the first part. إن هي الأفضل لتحويل العملات to use it as a services. But why? This is the second part. Since the exchange rate change frequently and a lot of system will need the such utility services. يعني أنا لما أقول أنا I'm going to have it as a component in my website. That means I will be the responsible one who check out of exchange of frequently. كم سعر الدولار اليوم؟ أجلس أنا الويب تبعي أنا جالسة أهتم what's the product I'm going to have and I'm going to show it to the customer and about putting it on the card and updating the information. Or I'm going to think about the currency change. It's not my business. Actually, يعني أنا هنا ما راح تكون accurate. It's going to add effort for me. So it's better to have it as a service. أروح إلى provider مختص بالموضوع who's going to provide this service for me and I'm just going to use it. Okay? طيب now I would like you to بطريقة اللي قلناها قبل شوية we can give you any scenario asking you to give an example of service, give an example of component. Or we can give you an example and we need you to categorize it to a different services. Another way too, we can give you an example and we need you to distinguish. It's better to have it as a component or as a service. And you can actually think about it in more detail to give explanation. يعني وأنتوا إن شاء الله اللي لما ترجعوا تذاكروا we're just going to say if it's a component or it's a service and by yourself sit and explain to yourself if I get the same things في الexam كيف راح أعمل explanation أفسرها إن هي this is why it's going to be component. So let's start with the first one. Just write C or S. I already seen someone saying it. Okay, interesting. So we have a component, we have a services. طيب محمد ومنار service. I mean a services too. Okay. الweather information. أنا راح أتابع الجو كيف راح يكون متغير من عندي وأجلس أحط temperature بكل مدينة وأتأكد إيش صاير. Doesn't make sense. So absolutely it's going to be a service. أكيد راح تكون service. طيب language translation هذه شرحتها already, so I'm not going to repeat myself. راح تكون services. طيب log in okay. Anyone else? تمام. Okay, exactly. It is going to be component. الإيميل sending email, receiving email. Now obvious. طيب خلينا ناخذها سيناريو إنه question في الإكزام. They said in Arab Open University, the developer and the website decide to use an email services to send email to students and receive it from students. What's the appropriate or the best implementation of الإيميل؟ كذا تقدر تفكروا فيها. وحقيقة this is what's happened. إن حاليا الجامعة مش جالسين حاطين نظام الإيميل for their own. They're using Microsoft. صحيح؟ So they're using it as a service. It cannot be a component. الإيميل it cannot be a component. It's always a service. Unless you're going to create sending or receiving, which is not going to be. في المثال اللي شفناه من قبل هنا, I'm not sure if this is what you are thinking about. فأول مثال شفناه كان حاطينها إن هي it's going to be logo. حاطين صورة إيميل. لكن هي حقيقة هي لوجو. المفروض يستبدلوها يحطوا أي لوجو ثاني عشان ما تخربطوا. الإيميل cannot be a component. It's always a service. Notification, it is going to be a service. أنا لما يكون عندي حدث I'm going to send it as a service. والpayment gateway already we answered it before, so we are going to not to repeat it. طيب. الآن what I tried to do here is take an example of e-commerce اللي أنا already give you always example on it, and isn't a notification is a part of the program. A notification of what exactly? A notification is a service when you're using it as RSS. So if you remember one of the architecture's style هي sending النوتيفيكيشن RSS إن متى ما يصير عندي حدث جديد أنا راح أرسل إلى المستخدم. الآن فكروا فيها بهذه الطريقة يا مين عندي سؤال هنا محمد ومنار. طب فكروا فيها الآن أنتم في مشروع التخرج and you're designing a website that e-commerce website that is including different products. You ask the customer إنه whenever there is a new product, send me a notification. الكود الخاص ب sending a notification, you are not going to do it by yourself. Actually, is built-in services before. يعني مثلها مثل الauthentication. إن whenever something new there, you're going to send a notification. فراح تكون services, مش a part of my products. كخدمة إضافية. And actually it's going to be a utility. Okay. وإذا تذكرون أنا مش حافظة في أي سلايد فما راح أرجع لها. السلايد اللي كان حاطين فيها الاركتكتشرز RSS اللي تجي orange circle تشوفوها في أغلب المواقع تشوفوا notification مثلها مثل لما تشوفوا تحويل العملة مثلها مثل لما تشوفوا حالة الطقس. So it is actually is a service. Okay. طيب في المثال هنا we get to get back not anything's dynamic, anything that's related to information it's not a dynamic. أحيانا يكون dynamics related to your part and it's in your hand. لكن عملية how I'm going to explain it to you, Alina. If it's something repeated in a general way, أي شغلة على أساس خليني أستخدم keywords it's helping you general, that you can think about it, you can see it in a different format, أكثر من مكان تكون عامة, you can think about it as a service. Okay? طب أنت بتقولي البيانات تتابع علي صحيح, لكن عملية الإرسال, عملية sending a notification, عملية how they figured out إن you have a new product, this is a service. طيب نجي إلى المثال هنا عندنا. I have a component. البارت أو example of the component, it can be the product listing البيج. لما أروح إلى قائمة المنتجات and I have a drop down list, هذا راح تكون component. الكار الشوبينج كار هذه component. الكوستمر ريفيو الأشياء اللي يكتبوها المستخدمين تقييمهم, this is a component. The search bar as what we saw it before, all of those are a component. طب example on services, payment processing service, inventory management, إدارة كم how much do I have now, how much do I have left, so on and so forth. This is going to be an inventory. And then we have user account management as part of providing everything. It can count as a service. الشيبينج والدليفري راح يكونوا كمان خدمات. عملية التوصيل والشحن اثنينهم راح يكونوا خدمات. Okay. So this is the end of unit 10. We still have half an hour, but I'm not sure. We can start in unit 11, but I need not to break down the concept. ما أبغى أبلش فيها وبعد كده نرجع بكرة نكمل. So I'm gonna to stop here, and we're gonna to do fully unit 10 tomorrow. Unit 10 it's gonna to take more time actually. راح ياخذ وقت أكثر, بس لأن ما أبغى أبلش بما